because you won't believe this maybe, but I was there when somebody decided, see, when I started teaching English, we did not teach English. We talked about English, okay? So the classes, if you didn't speak Spanish, you could not teach English in Mexico. If you didn't speak Japanese, you could not teach English in Japan because it had to be taught in the native language of the students, okay? So I was already teaching the day that somebody came up with a brilliant idea. Somebody said, ¿y si les enseñamos a hablarlo? What sounds stupid today was actually an innovation in language teaching, okay? So, of course, everything took precedent, and what we started doing, we forgot about grammar, we forgot about a lot of things, because now we were teaching communication. But we taught it as conversation. And communication is much more than communication, see? And that's the issue. Today, oral communication is much more than that. Now, at the end of this session, I'm going to give you my personal email. I have two emails, el que contesto y el que no contesto, okay? So I'm going to give you the one I do reply to, because I can send you the PDF version of this, okay? So that you can relax and have some fun with me today. Now, the question here is, what are we supposed to teach? Well, we're supposed to teach our students to communicate in many shapes and forms, but we must concentrate especially, not specifically, on three very important ones. One of them is, as you can see up there on the screen in yellow, solving problems, see? We are supposed to teach English so that students can use English to do something with it. Nobody today is supposed to speak English to know how to say something in English. We are supposed to speak English to do something with it. They don't pay you for knowing. They pay you for what you can solve with what you know. So solving problems has connotations regarding or connected to critical thinking, to connections with students' lives. It is very connected with lots of things that are buzz concepts today in language teaching. But you may notice that after that solving problems issue, we also have something else, the dominance, the acquisition of dominance of 21st century skills. And these 21st century skills that are now 17 years old have a connection with what I just said earlier, see? When you in Durango and in estados circunvecinos, I've seen some people from other places here, when you are teaching English, don't think that your job is to have your students know how to say things in English. That is long gone. If your school wants to be up to date, you have to make sure that your students are busy beyond knowing how to say and communicating, explaining, presenting things. And what are those things? Those are 21st century skills. Okay? I have experimented with 12 different 21st century skills. Those of you that know me from some other place know that I do experimentación didáctica. Okay? I am a teacher of English like mostly everybody here, but I'm also a pedagogo. And as a pedagogo, okay, that's what we do. We are the ones behind the curtain, okay? Behind the teacher, what is not seen in the classroom, but determines what happens in the classroom. Why am I saying that? Because in order to come up with methodology, I experiment with real children. Obviously, being a very proud Mexican myself, I always come to Mexico to experiment with Mexican students as well, along with other countries. Now, I have experimented with 12 21st century skills. Some of the things that I've done are going to pair up with what I will be telling you today. And then, of course, we also have the issue of CLIL. Yes, we are supposed to teach English, but we are supposed to teach things in English, just like a native speaker is learning English or Spanish, in our case, and you're learning content in Spanish and in English. CLIL has two sides, cultural CLIL and academic CLIL. And those two CLILs are also supposed to be part of communicating. So basically, my friends, what I'm trying to say is that this session is about how to do it. Now, I know we don't have all afternoon long because I've been told that they like to have us here, but there is no dinner for us. Okay? So then, eventually they'll tell me, so I will cut, okay? Now, the question here is there is one, el pecado original. ¿Sí? The original sin in language teaching is that many teachers think that speaking is like the result of like magic. After you finish the 12 levels, ta-da! A speaker! It doesn't work that way. Speaking is not a product that happens at the end of language learning. Speaking is part of the learning process. Even kindergarten students can say on day one, it's a book, and they hold the book. So we need to build on it, and in order to build on it, of course, there are several things we need to ponder, consider. The first one is that in ELT, for instance, we want to make sure that we teach in an oral communication in a contextualized setting. And in this, we Mexicans are very lucky. Many years ago, well, not that many, some years ago, I was asked by TESOL International to develop, because they know I'm of Mexican origin, so they asked me, could you, and they know that I do studies and stuff, so they asked me, could you study the differences between the way Mexicans learn English compared to people like, for instance, Americans or Europeans or the like? And the results were astonishing. We are the lucky ones. It so happens that Mexico, because of the Mexican culture, because of the Mexican values and the interaction with family, blah, 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 we have the perfect setting for teaching English the way it's supposed to be taught today. And this is wonderful. One of the reasons why Mexico is considered worldwide as one of the key markets in teaching English in the world is because the way the Mexican society operates is the perfect scenario, the perfect storm for teaching English. What does that mean? It means that we have the right context, that we have children and students that love to be chatting one with the other. See, in other countries, in the United States, students are very individual. It's the computer. There is less interaction amongst people. There is no montonerismo that we have in Mexico, okay? Nobody visits you and stays for a month, like it happens here. ¿Cuándo se irá a ir mi tía? ¿Quién sabe? Okay? So all that gregarious attitude is exactly what we need for teaching communication. Now, oral communication, of course, is the ability we have to interact with others, to exchange information, to engage in tasks and the like. Now, what we're going to do here, and of course, as I told you before, this is the irony of my presence today is that I flew for hours to speak for an hour and 20 minutes, okay? Que lujos. Así, what's happening in Durango, people, okay? But the irony is that if we had more time, but anyway, I'm going to try to cover, this is what I want to cover in the hour or 5 minutes I have left, okay? I want us to reflect on the current focus of oral communication. How is it that we are supposed to, what is it that we're supposed to squeeze out of our teaching? I would also like us to define how to teach communication. And it's very important that we practice how to do it. Even, I know this is not a workshop, but we can practice some little bits and pieces. And then finally, I want us to have fun. Because if there's no fun, I know it's not for the money. Okay? We like to have fun. So this is what we want today, a very ambitious agenda for an hour, 5 minutes, okay? But let's see what is the most we can do. Now, here's what's going to happen, my friends. I'm going to be showing you these two kids many times. Each time within a different garden. And that garden has a reflection of the topic we're going to cover. So these kids, we're going to be building on the screen the different things that we're supposed to be doing today in language teaching. And then we're going to see how can we squeeze oral communication out of something that we don't even imagine that it is for that. Because originally it isn't. So our first stop, grammar and vocabulary. Now, yes, this is the oldest, that's why I put it as the pillar. The oldest thing in language teaching. What was that song? If we could turn back time, okay? If we could go back in time, before I was born, this is what teachers were teaching, grammar and vocabulary. Lots of repetition of words and lots of explanation of structures in Spanish, of course. So we're going to build on it. Now, what kind of activities do we have to do this? Well, let's take a look. We have drills, language and use, information gap activities, question and answer. So what I did is I pulled grammar and vocabulary so that you don't forget what was behind it, and I'm going to put it up there, okay? Now, what do we have to teach here? Well, when we teach grammar and vocabulary, see, this is the grammar and vocabulary category, but it's about speaking the language. So don't forget, we're going to visit everything, if we have time, that we are supposed to be doing in the classroom, but we're only going to talk about it in terms of how do I turn it into an oral communication experience, okay? So, in this particular case, when we teach grammar and vocabulary, what are the usual suspects? Well, we have mechanics. We want the students to learn the order of the structure, or the repetition of, do you have this, do you have that, does she, do we do the mechanical part of structure. We also have the competence, phonology, spelling, vocabulary, and of course, word formation. See, when we teach English, if there's anything you should learn today, I want you to remember this. Regardless of what level you teach, regardless of who you teach, you know what we teach? 4 things only. You want your students to know meaning. You want your students to be able to pronounce the best they can. You want them to use the correct intonation to be able to put the words in correct order. So in a grammar chart like this, I know that those projectors are very poor in their quality, and this is a very good screen, but the resolution is a little, so we're in trouble, aren't we, okay? But I'll tell you. See, the reason why we have grammar charts is because the students are supposed to see the flow and practice putting sentences together. This is a gestalt experience, the global perception of things. So, the typical thing would be to say, if it says there, let me just read it from my screen over here. It says, China has more speakers of English than the United States. That's what it says up there, okay? I don't know if you can see it, but here, what it says is China has more speakers of English than the US. That's what it's supposed to say, okay? Now, normally, if we don't do it right, what would the teacher ask? China has more speakers, blah, 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 has more this, blah, blah, blah. But no. In today's teaching world, we need more than that. We need the students to use, see the little tip that you have there? We need the students to explain the concept in English, to say, use fewer. You see what I'm trying to say here? So the students are supposed to be aware of what's happening, but we also want them to use the models. And instead of just saying China has this or that, see, use fewer with countable things, use less with amounts that aren't countable. But we also want them to say, see, I can also say Mexico has more speakers of Spanish than Spain. Obviously, this is something I would say everywhere but in Spain, okay? Les molesta mucho, en España les molesta mucho que México tenga más gente hablando español que ellos, que son los dueños de la lengua. Okay? I remember once somebody asked me in Madrid, where is your accent from? I said, it's from North Mexico. And I told him, and by the way, it's the most used accent of Spanish in the world. Yeah. Now, notice what it says there. It doesn't say, Mexico has more Spanish speakers than Spain. No, 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 no. It starts by saying, I can also say, you see what I'm pushing here? Students are supposed to be speaking in English, not just throwing models. And also, you can look at the picture. What country do you think that is? China, of course. And I'm doing better business in China than in Japan. So look what I showed in China. Japan has fewer square kilometers than China, okay? Obviously, when I go to Tokyo in October, I'm not going to show that, okay? So the point is that this is grammar, yes, but it's supposed to be for talking, not just for understanding the flow, okay? Now, moving on, these grammar charts, see, this is for older students. And of course, you can't see a bit of it, but the idea is that, see, the students talk. The apostrophe and the S represent the word is. See, if it says he's or she's or whatever, we want the students to be able, we use the contraction to speak easier. So see, you want your students to talk about grammar. That's the message for grammar, okay? Now, let's practice. I'm just sad that we don't have good illustrations because I try to prepare the best possible, and I'm sorry that you cannot see them. Now, what does it say if you can see it or not? It says, what would Jessie like? And then she'd like some oatmeal. Now, the idea here is to practice for word order and fluency. So, how do you turn grammar into conversation? Because you mustn't forget that you're teaching grammar. So that, because there is a conversation moment. No, no, no. This is grammar. You're teaching grammar, but you bring out the communication thing. So how would I do it here? Well, we play a game. So let's play, drum roll. First talk, then see. What is I told you earlier that I'm a pedagogo, see? Pedagogos are responsible for something called, I don't know if you've heard this expression before, but it's called curriculum oculto. Have you ever heard that expression? Hidden curriculum? It means that we don't show things, but they're there, okay? Now, you know who uses a lot of curriculum oculto? Los gobiernos. Venimos a apoyarlos, okay? But, elections on Sunday, okay? So then, in teaching, there is hidden curriculum. Why am I saying, let's play, first talk, then see? See? Look at those people. See? Can you distinguish Barack in the middle? Okay, I put him there para que le cayera gordo a Trump, okay? Sentidísimo, okay. Okay, so then, why am I supposed to say first? Because it's grammar. I want to make sure that the students focus on word order when they talk. So I would do this. I would cut these little things out, and then the student would say, what would, and they would have little cutouts, but before they take one, they already have to say, what would, because if you put it first and you say, what would, then there's no fixation. So that's why it's called first talk, what would, then see. Okay? So are you ready? I want you to say what would when at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Show me your hand and do this. like, okay? Now, before we take the food, we would say, yes, he'd like some soup. Okay, got it? Okay, my friends, are you ready? So, of course, you would have cutouts, but we don't have cutouts here, okay? We don't have time. Are you ready? Here we go. You didn't say what would. Now, let's start again. 1, 2, 3. No, you haven't even seen it. ¡Ay, magia! Ahora resulta, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. What would? No. Chicken! You get the idea, okay? First talk, then see. So what is going to be fixated in the brain? The order. First, the what would, and then the person. Got it? First, the he or she'd like, and then the thing they'd like. So that teaches grammar, but it's oral. Yes, Robin? En Durango, porque... Okay? Now, this case, see? Now, obviously, I would be very pretentious to expect you to be able to read that because it's very blurry. But I'll explain to you. This is an information gap activity. I'll just give you the general concept. Whenever you have a dialogue, because that we can see, there's a dialogue, two people talking and 4 speech bubbles, always identify as a smart teacher which are the constants and which are the variables. What do I mean by constant? The ones that are not going to change. So for instance, the first one says, what would you like for breakfast? So that's a constant because that's the starting question. What would you like for breakfast? But then we have breakfast, lunch, breakfast, lunch, breakfast, lunch. So Pedrito, Mari Carmen, Claudia. So Pedrito, what would you like? So that's a fixed one. But then we will move into see? There's a choice. So the teacher needs to know which ones are the same and which ones are the option for communicating things. Okay? In this case, I'd like some oatmeal, please. So because of the oatmeal, then the other question also changes. Because it's saying, would you like some milk with that? Had they said, I would like some tamales, would you like some milk with that? Tamales ahogados or what's that? So no, you see my point? So those two are variables that change. Now for kindergarten, because remember, I know that you come from grown-up teaching to children teaching. So this is a kindergarten example. And in this particular case, we're teaching grammar. Everything is grammar. This one is, what are you doing? No, what are you using? I'm using tape. So we have all these options, all those options for the students to choose. I'm using this, I'm using that. So it becomes conversational, see? Information gap filling. And I have students find, point, and say, or answer. And this is something you should be practicing. Even if it's grammar, turn it into a conversation experience. Now, grammar, we're still with grammar and vocabulary. See? What you're going to see now, this is like the fashionable thing to do. You're going to see reading, but in the form of a comic strip, but with reading that is grammar models. Look at this example. What do you want to be, Karen? I want to be a singer. I like to sing. What do you want to be, Emilio? I want to be a writer. I like to, you see? It's a story. It's reading. But it's grammar because it's just models of the same structure. So as we move on, what do you want to be, Elaine? I want to be a lifeguard. I like to swim. What do you want to be, Oscar? I want to be a chef. Why? Do you like to cook? No, I like to eat. So you turn it into something reading, but what's happening here is, see, it's a dialogue. Everything we teach today should be turned into conversation. Ooh, the kids are back. Now we go one more level, and it's about reading this time. So now we're going to squeeze reading. We're going to squeeze conversation, oral skills out of text that you have your students read. Okay? So what do we do in reading? We do description, narration, discussions. We establish conclusions. So let's get to business here. When it comes to reading, remember what I said earlier. We want reading and the rest of the categories that we want them to have to do with oral communication, with using language to communicate. So as an example, see, look at this example. And I don't know if you can read it or not. Maybe over here. Oh, this is sad. See, we have a reading text here that says, warm up. In your life, where do you see or hear English? Preview. Before you read, search for the word English in the article. Then answer this question. How does each person use English? So it's a parade of people. I wouldn't even dream of you reading it because it's very difficult to read. But all these people, in their texts, the students are reading about how they use English. So now they're going to narrate it. They're going to talk about it. So even reading should be taken to talking, okay? And that's the idea of doing it there. In this particular case, you see this family? This is I'm going to tell you a little story of these two people. It's a mother and a daughter. Because we don't have time to read the story, I'll just give you a summary. This mother and this daughter went on a camping trip, but it rained every day. So now they're going back home. And the mother thinks that her daughter is never going to want to go camping with her because it rained. They didn't have any fun. So then she says, this is the use of language to express opinions of what you read. So the basic questions is, do you think the little girl's name is Jenny? Do you think Jenny would like to go camping again if it rained every single day? What do you think? Yes? If somebody invites you, I don't know where Duranguenses go camping, but if somebody invites you to go camping and it rains from Friday to Sunday, would you want to go camping again? Why? Because you love the company. Okay, so it could be because, you know why this little girl did want to go camping? Because she took her video games with her. So she went all the way up to level 12, okay? So you see, that's the idea. Do you like camping? And then you go to why or why not. See, the purpose of reading today is to extend it to talking. Everything we're going to do today is about talking, talking, talking. Now, are you ready for a challenge? I hope you can read it. This is a little story, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 speech moments, 7 text moments. It's reading, it's a story. The idea is to organize the thoughts in a meaningful and logical sequence. So, can you see them? Can you read them? The first one says, wow, I want to see it. Look, a stream. It's a bird. I want to go hiking. What's that? I'm scared. I see birds and butterflies. What do you want to do? Ladies and gentlemen, of those 7 texts, which one would go here? Which, number 7, what do you want to do? Do you think so? Okay, let's see. Let's see if the last one moves over here. Yes! So, what do you think the little girl is going to say? Yes! And now they're near the river. Now what is the father saying? Look, a stream. Oh, there it is. I see birds and butterflies. Yeah. Oh. So now we move. Ooh, 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 ooh. It's a bird. Wow, I want to see it. So in this case, these are students, the children. What are they going? They're going to be talking. This one goes first. Let's put you see, talk. So reading turned into communication. Okay? Ooh, we're moving to the next one. CLIL. CLIL stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. So how do we present it? Through analysis, synthesis, discussion, question and answer, role-playing, situations, reflections, all kinds of stuff. So let's visit CLIL for a moment. This is math. Multiplication. Now remember, in CLIL, we have two CLILs. Cultural CLIL and academic. This is academic, and academic could be math, science, art, social studies, whatever. Okay? Let's take a look at this math one. Now, because of our lack of time, I'm going to just show you, and then I'm going to have you do something as opposed to have you do everything. Okay? See, this is multiplication. So the students are going to learn that, like, if the horse and the buggy goes so far in 1 hour, how far did they get in 4 hours? That kind of thing. So it's CLIL, but you're doing math. Okay? Then we have the Model T, and we have a modern car. But we're not going to do that because we don't have time. Let me challenge you. Are you ready? Here we go. Ooh. See, this is Mario made. Every morning, his name is Mr. Pearson. Extra credit challenges, doble café. Okay? Now, some of you might be saying, why do I need to do math? That's why I teach English. Well, I'm sorry, but CLIL requires it, okay? Now, let's see what Mr. Pearson. To avoid heavy downtown traffic, Mr. Pearson drives from his home to a commuter center, okay, for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And then rides the company bus. ¿Aparece the bus? There we go. Okay? No, el tipo vino preparado, okay? So then he rides the bus, but he has to wait for 10 minutes for the bus, okay? Porque Mr. Pearson no es VIP. Tiene que esperar que se llene el pecero, okay? And then, my friends, they get downtown. And that takes them half an hour. So the question is, how long is Mr. Pearson's commute? 1 hour. And some of you might be thinking, ay, si no estuvo tan difícil. This is the warm-up. Are you ready for the real one? Okay, put on your brains, people. Whoops. Oh, no. No. Terco en salir. Sorry. I don't know. I'll just tell you. Now, here's the challenge. Are you ready? Concentrate. From Mr. Pearson's house to the commuter center, there are 2 miles. From Mr. Pearson's house to downtown, donde está la oficina, there are 5 miles. 2 miles, 5 miles. So, how much time does it take Mr. Pearson to drive the last 2 miles? Well, to ride. Oh, my goodness. Lots of double coffee. Y la mitad de la sala. ¿Y cómo supieron? Okay? Let me tell you how they supieron. See? 20 minutes to here, 2 kilometers. 30 minutes over here, 2 miles. 3 miles. That means that it takes 10 minutes per mile. So the last 2 miles, 20 minutes. Very good. Okay, let's forget math. Okay? Now let's look around the world. Doesn't that look beautiful? This is cultural clue. Where fruits come from. Watermelon first came from, did you know that watermelon came from Africa? Okay. Yes, they came from Africa, and now everybody eats watermelon. And of course, mango. Algunos somos de México, pero originalmente. Ay, les cayó tarde. It's been a long day, hasn't it? Okay? Really? El que se levantó a las 3 fui yo, okay? So do you know where mangoes are actually from India? Did you know that? Okay. And of course, como buen mexicano, tengo que atravesar a mi querido México en todo, okay? So, avocados are good for you. People all over the world eat avocados. Many avocados are from Mexico. Now, question now out of this page. What percentage, volvemos a math, okay? What percentage of avocados of the world do you think come from Mexico? 80? 70? Who said 70? Triple coffee for you. ¿Sabían ustedes que de cada 10 aguacates que existen en el mundo, 7 son mexicanos? Así que ponle aguacate total. Okay? Now, very good. Now, here we go. Ooh! So Mexico, South America, Africa, India. So see, how do we talk about this? What fruit comes from India? Mangoes. A sus órdenes. From Africa? From South America? Tomatoes. From Mexico? You see, but you want the students to talk about it. But it doesn't end there. Ladies and gentlemen, ta-da! This one is not published. This one I did as a handout. So what I did is I gave my students, ¿se acuerdan que les dije que tengo mis conejillos de Indias? Okay. I gave my students an empty map of the world. And I told them, vayan con Dios, hijos míos. I told them, go, and over the weekend, I want you to go online, and I want you to find common fruits and find out where in the world are they from. So the students went home, and this is the result. I didn't do this, my students did. I don't want to take the credit. So, interesting. Did you know that there is only one common fruit, known fruit, that is originally from the United States? Only one of the usual suspects. And that fruit is? No. Plum. La ciruela es la única fruta común, porque ha de haber muchas así como que minúsculas, que es originaria de Estados Unidos. Now, you did see strawberries. There are 3 strawberries up there, because this is interesting. At the same time, in 3 different parts of the world, the United States near the border with Canada, Chile, and in Europe, there were 3 different varieties of different species, different varieties of strawberries that evolved. Now, look at Mexico. ¿En qué quedamos? Avocado. But do you see the papaya? That covers Mexico and Central America. Now, for 2 cups of coffee, can you find the cashew nut? Where is the cashew nut from? Do you know the map? What country is that? Brazil. Okay. So here, did you know that banana? Can you find the banana? People think that bananas are from the Caribbean. They are originally from Australia and all the islands in Indonesia and all those places. Interesting. Apples are from Central Europe, Eastern Europe. So how did I turn this into talking? It's CLIL, it's culture, and the students stand up with their charts and they start talking to other people. See? Talking is important. Now, my friends, you're going to love this one. We're going to go to CLIL, small, small, small. I need everybody. Are you ready? I want you to think of your age. Don't say it. No quiero quedarme demandado por causar estrés. Okay? Just think of your age. Ready? Divide it by 4. Because I need everybody to be 5 years old again. Are you ready? Show me your hands. Don't be shy. What happens in this beautiful building stays in this beautiful building. So show me your hands. Cover your face. It's not that you're not cute, but I need you to cover your face. Esto que están haciendo parece ridículo, pero crean en un profesional, okay? Now here I go. When you open your hands, I need you to be, think, and act 5 years old. Did you understand your task? 5 years old. 1, 2, 3. Qué bonito kinder. Okay. Now, I am your kindergarten teacher. Children, please stand up. I'm going to call your mother. This is called simulation. See? When we teach CLIL, we can do simulation. Now, I could have chosen the fruits, but I wanted to show you nicer simulation. Are you ready? Here's what I need you to do. Now, ay, Dios mío. There we go. Show me your hands. Now, can you are an egg. You're an egg? So say, I'm an egg. Can you feel inside the shell? Now, are you ready? I'm a caterpillar. You're not moving. Now, start feeling it in your bodies. Siéntanse como momias. I'm a cocoon. By the way, this is ensayo general. Okay? Ready? I'm a butterfly. Are you ready? Here we go. Now if you can't do this, you can't teach, okay? So here we go. When I say go, you're going to start being an egg, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. I'm a cocoon. Y ahora pongan unos huevitos. And then I'm an egg again. I'm just joking. Okay, very good. Give yourselves a hand. Now the difference, you can sit down now. Thank you. The difference between role-playing and simulation is what you just saw. Okay, you role-play when you say you're going to be Carlos, you're going to be Marta. But when you simulate, you do what we just did. This is a higher level of teaching. And now we move on to values. Now, if I ever run out of time, somebody tell me. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking, okay? When it comes to values, we have to talk. We have to discuss them. We must have insights. And then, of course, we move into proposing things, role-playing, and even simulations as well. Now, let us not forget the purpose of teaching values. Why do we teach values? so that we can alter or influence the behavior of students. So when we teach values, we want to make sure that we use the language as a means to express opinions, to express values and judgment, okay? Having said that, there is a subtle cultural thing to it, because when we teach values, we also teach norms, like taking terms, respecting people, giving, being polite, all those things. And those are variables that are repeated with different levels of teaching. So, an example of values, here we go. See, this is about the subjects that we teach. And what I do is I turn anything into a debate. How do you create a debate in your classes? Here goes the recipe, okay? I'm going to show you one example, but you could do it with anything you teach. For instance, I want you to think of the school subjects that are taught in the schools where you teach, or the ones that you study. So this is what you do. You give your students and you debate your neighbors. So let me show you the real thing. There we go. See? We give the students little papers with the names of the subjects. They don't have to have cutesy things. Here I'm doing it this way because I'm trying to be professional. But it could just say math, science. Now you see there's one empty? Why? Because in many schools, there is a subject that is very specific. For instance, in colegios católicos, there is a class of educación para la fe. Or preparando para la primera comunión, catecismo. Or in other schools, there's something else. So the students have a little card with the names of the subjects they study. And then you ask them to work with their partner or their neighbor. And they have to put them in order of their favorite to their least favorite. Okay? Like, my favorite is math, or no, mine is science. And then they discuss and they come together to an agreement of one same order for two people. And then magic happens. Those two students stand up with one set of cards, and they walk around. Everybody's walking around in twos in the classroom. Hi! We have literature first. And these two, no, we have English first. What do you have next? So what's happening? Talk. Okay? So everybody shares and bye, and they go to someone else and they talk. So what you want to do is, what is the value? Appreciating school. Okay? It's a value. We teach different values. Look at this case here, if you can see it. What are we teaching here? Well, we're teaching about helping at home. So the kids would do things like, what I try to do is I mime it. Let's get busy. So, shh. Hey, you're washing. Or whatever it is that will lead your students to talking. Okay? You want more oral as well. Look at this is kindergarten values. We can develop this at any level, even in kindergarten. You know how it's brought down to kindergarten? The children are going to color the correct one. See, the second kid is being mean. He's not helping the child that fell with the umbrella. But so then which one are they going to color? The one that is helping button the sweater. So even in kindergarten we can do it. And not to mention in grown-ups, so we say the ways you help. So I'm going to challenge you. Can you look at the people sitting next to you? Look at your neighbors. Do you like your neighbors? Ay, cuánta hipocresía. Okay, let's pretend you like your neighbors. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of how you help others in different places. So here, turn to someone and I'm going to give you the challenge. From the time you wake up to 10 a.m., how do you help others? Tell your neighbor. From 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., how do you help others? And some of you say, oh my goodness, me acabo de dar cuenta que I don't help anybody. Okay? So you see what's happening here? You can do it talking or whatever. So a value is helping, but what am I doing with it? I'm turning it into conversation. I'm turning it into an oral skill. Now, my friends, moving on. Projects. What does a teacher need to know about projects today? You need to know something very important. Projects are supposed to be carried to presentation of the project. See? It's not the same thing to say, like, the project is to make a box. This is my box. It's green. No, they're supposed to present it saying, I chose green because it's my favorite. Blah, blah, blah. See? So as we do it for demonstration, let me show you an example. We can demonstrate, we can report with it. And of course, you need to organize your thoughts in logical sequence. And this is what I told you earlier about subtle cultural things that we have as Mexicans. So I'm going to challenge you here with a project. If I can get this to work. Calendar, see? So give your students a calendar that's empty and have them decide. See, the project is, or have them make a calendar as a project. But they are going to decide what to seed in there. In sports, in tennis, they say, el cuarto sembrado es el tenista. You've heard that expression, right? Seeding means to position based on their quality or their record or what have you. So do that with your students. Have them seed their life on a calendar. What's the first thing they're going to do? Their birthday, Christmas, and many of them will share the same thing. So then they will stand up and talk about their calendar. And better yet, I'm going to show you another example aside from the calendar thing. Another thing they can do, this is my favorite. Here's what I want you to do. Are you ready? I want you to think, I'll show you the experiment, and then I'll ask you to do it. I gave my students 4 different little papers like that, like those, okay? And I told them, I want you to choose 4 things that you've never done, but that you would like to do. Like if there's something that you've never done but you don't want to do it, that's not good. Something you would actually want to do. If I ask you to think of one right now, think of something in your life that you would actually want to do and that you've never done. While you think of it, I'm going to share with you an experience. I have never flown on a hot air balloon. And last year, I was determined to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and fly in a hot air balloon. This actually happened in August, the week between that where July ends and August begins. I bought the plane tickets in March. My friends, everything was ready, and we actually went to Albuquerque. But there was one problem. 1 week before we flew to Albuquerque, there was an accident with a hot air balloon. And people lost their lives because of that. So we didn't cancel the trip, but when we got to Albuquerque, we only went to the hot air museum. Okay? Párate ahí. We didn't ride the balloon. Okay? So, you've had time. What thing would you like to do that you've never done? Can anybody tell me something? Skydiving. And you would want to do it. You're not just inventing. Okay, how many of you have, of those of you who have never skydived, how many of you would actually want to skydive? You see, has anybody here actually skydived? Okay? See, what you would do is you would stand around and say, think of 4 things you'd like to try and find out if somebody has done it. So the class would be interacting. Have you ever skydived? No, ni lo mande Dios. Have you ever this? Until you would run into him and he would say, yes, I have. And you would say, uno menos. Have you ever eaten a dozen of tamales? And you would find everybody saying, yes, of course. Like, okay, so anything else that you would want, that you would like to do but you've never done? I'm sorry? Go up the Eiffel Tower, okay, if you run into me. Oh, but in the elevator or crawling on? In the elevator? Okay, so if you would run into me, I would say yes. Okay? If you want me to crawl, I would say no, I've never done it, okay? Anything else? Bungee jumping. I would never do that. You want to? Okay. Has anybody bungee jumped? Oh my goodness, you're right next door. So now I see your kind, okay? So yeah, now I understand. So you see, now you know what the pity is here? That many of you can't think of anything that you've never done and you actually want to do. So, for homework, okay, I want you to send me an email with things that you would like to do that you've never done. Okay? Ooh, see, this is a project, make your own CD. I asked, this is a secundaria student category, I asked 30 adolescents to choose their favorite 10 songs of all times and to work on a CD. They didn't have to record it, just to make the cover. And then they would walk around talking, what songs do you have in your CD? See? It's a project, but you turn it into talking. Don't forget that. The message today is, regardless of what skill you're teaching, turn it into talking. Because in the end, that's what shows if your students speak English or if they don't speak English. Okay? Having said that, and now writing. Wait a minute. Talk, writing, and talking together? Yes! Through experimentation, I've actually managed to have students exchange talking, get involved in oral communication about something they write. So, ¿con qué se come? Let me show you. Organized thought. See, these are classic, these are common bullets. Thoughts in a meaningful, logical way. Eloquence in describing a process followed. So let me show you an example. I'm going to show you 2 emails. Ta-da! Now, because of the lack of clarity, you probably can't see that this is a formal one and this is an informal one. While I say, Dear Miss Santos, over here it says, Hi, ¿quién? Hi, Leo. Hey, Leo. See? I'll be, on the formal side it says, I'll be working on next week's writing assignment this weekend because I have to play rehearsals all week, but I need more information about it. I have some questions. Over here, any plans for tomorrow? So how do I turn the concept of composition? Because, by the way, on the side, this is the way we're supposed to teach writing now. Not just write a paragraph. They're supposed to be pre-writing, writing, revising, presenting, okay? So in this, there's supposed to be a theme that you're teaching when it comes, like a composition strategy. So here, it's formal versus informal. So how am I going to turn this into talking? I'm going to turn it into talking by asking students to say, while I can see how it starts, Dear Mr. or Miss Santos, see, that's formal. And when I say, hey, fulanito, that's it. So you see, discuss the strategy. Discuss the composition skill. Take it to talking. In the end, the people that are in your classes, if their families and their personal reasons, the reason why they're there is because they want to speak English. That's the whole reason, okay? So in the end, well, I already stepped on my own feet. Compare the two emails, one formal and one informal, and they tell their partner their differences, okay? Now, after we do writing, look at this example. Can you be 5-year-olds again? Show me, my 5-year-olds, show me your pointing finger. Now, don't be shy. Maestro de inglés que es penoso está en la carrera equivocada. Okay? So if somebody says, show me your pointing finger, the correct one, because I've been here before, okay? I know you people. So why would I ask you, have you noticed something? Every time I ask you to be kinder, I always ask you to do something physical, because that's how this age group learns. Children in kindergarten need to touch to learn, because they're in a mental, tangible stage. So, show me your finger, your pointing finger. If you had this in front of you, if you had it here, I want you to say, this is the letter F. Okay? This is a big F. This is a small f. You see, it's writing, but you're talking. Now go to the fishy and say, F is for fish. Now look at the feet. How would you say that? F is for fish. Go to the finger. You see, you're talking. And that's the idea behind writing there. And then, my friends, el reto del día. Are you ready? We're going to talk. You can actually talk about spelling. Does everybody have something to write with? Yes? Show me your pencils. It could be a pen. I'm easy to please. Okay? Show me your pen or your pencils. This is a game. We're going to play a game. Okay, I'm going to dictate a non-existent word. In other words, nobody will get it wrong because the word doesn't exist. Got it? But I'm turning it into talking. So, my children, or my grown-ups, because this is good for any age, practice it when you go home tonight. You can actually do it in Spanish as well. Are you ready? Please write the word, and remember, no digan como, it doesn't exist. Write the word spadonculus. Spadonculus. It doesn't exist, it's an invented word. Spadonculus. How you doing? Got it? Okay. Now, where is the talking here? Here goes. After the student writes a word that doesn't exist, which means that it's not right or wrong, the word doesn't exist. Remember that? Then they have to talk and say it. Let's try it. I already said it, so. Ask around and compare. You don't have to do it. We don't have time. But you would. You would say, do you have a P? So the student would say, well, I have a P here. You see, talk, real communication. Or say I have or I don't have an N. After the P or before? I have an S. Now, how many of you started the word with an S? So then you have to say, because see, it's capital. So my first letter is a capital S. You would say that. You see what you're doing? You're talking. Spelling, you're talking. Okay? My last letter is an S. I already have right or 3 letters right, or got it? So you have to discuss as you move. Oh, I don't have a K. I have a C. You see? That's very good. Se ve, se siente, Durango está presente, okay? Woohoo! Does anybody have all the letters? Oh my goodness. I did this with 200 students, and only 30-something got it right. But there is no right. They got it the way I thought of it. Ah! Many children had an A. Svadankalas. Okay, so that's okay. I'm going to show you options. Now, I want you to look at the following words. What does your word look more like? Ready? Look at your word. Does it look more like this or like any of these? Ah. Oh my God, do I have to go through this again? Lo que lo hacen a uno hacer ustedes. This is the one you already have. I want to show you the list. How many letters did you get right? Well, not right, coincidental. Okay, here it goes. Does it look more like the original one or like any of those? These are the most common ones from my 200 students. Okay, my friends. And finally, assessment, reviews, journals. This is also something we must do when we teach English today. We must do assessment, we must do reviewings, we must do journals. Oral journals, establish conclusions, evaluation, and reflections. So, how are we going to practice? You see those trophies? Assessment. Organize thoughts in a meaningful and logical sequence, express awareness in a natural way, and very important, use language as a means to express opinions and judgment. So, summarize. So let's practice some summarizing. Turn writing into speaking. This is an assessment activity overall. So it says, write about yourself. Well, not write. Talk, okay? Very good. Parece que ensayamos, okay? Talk about yourself. So whatever it is that I'm asking, I'm actually asking, where will you be living 10 years from now or 20 years from now, what have you. And the students will present, instead of the writing, they will talk, okay? But aside from writing. My favorite activity. I gave my students a refrigerator, and I'm teaching, this is an assessment thing. After a unit where I taught, is there any, are there many, yes there are there any, whatever. I told the students to go home and draw on the refrigerator everything they saw in their refrigerator at home. If I ask you now, what do you have in your refrigerator? Nothing. No es quincena, dice, okay? What do you, can you actually think of 10 things you have in your refrigerator? The results were in. So what's for dinner? Okay? But remember the grammar. Is there any? Are there any? Is there any pizza? Or yes, there is some pizza. Is there any fish? So you see, let me show you the generic. Les va a encantar esto, que les voy a mostrar. Fill up your fridge. So I'm going to show you something. Remember I told you that I experiment with different countries? Okay. My Korean students so the students will take turns with their partners to find out how many things they can guess. Like, is there any cheese in your refrigerator? Y los chiquitos o alumnotes, yes, there is, or no, there isn't. So, you see? Now, the generic refrigerator. Me muero por enseñarles este. There it is. See? Look closely. Lástima que no se vea bien. Is there anything funny there? What do you see in that? I know that you cannot see it well. I'm sorry, but there are some hot sausages. There's orange juice. There's soda. There's milk. There's salsa, eggs, cheese. Look at the watermelon. There's a necklace. Okay. Un chiquito coreano. Oh, okay. Un chiquito coreano regresó conmigo. Yo doy clases por un mes nada más. ¿Sí? That's all I do. And then I leave them, thank God. Okay. And y un chiquito coreano regresó con un refri, con un collar en el refri. Okay? And I told them, you don't do it. No, when I teach in countries that I don't speak the language, which is most of them, the real teacher is always with me, okay? Because otherwise, you know the usual, teacher, how do you say? Okay. Well, if in Mexico or in Brazil or in somewhere they ask me, teacher, how do you say enchilada in English? Well, yo entiendo enchilada. So I just say enchilada. But when a Korean child asks, teacher, how do you say "chijondo" in English? Okay. Salvo una vez que me dijo un niño, this is a good one. We were talking about what they wanted to study or something like that. And one of the little ones looked at his teacher. Ya se acostumbraron a que a mí no me pueden preguntar, right? So he looks at his teacher and says, teacher, how do you say computer science in English? I say, déjamela a mí. Computer science, right? Do you know how to say café caliente in Japanese? I'm not making this up. Hot coffee. Oh. That's how they say hot coffee. Okay. So back to the Korean kid. So I said, why do you have a necklace in the refrigerator? And he told the teacher, and the teacher says, his mother puts jewelry in the refrigerator. Para despistar a los rateros, okay? Y si llega uno con hambre, which is very common. Okay, so what's for dinner? So they start talking about it. So finally, my friends, I would do an assessment, group work. We don't have time for that. I know it's, so do you have any whatever? But finally, let me show you the general assessment. Oh, well, that's the conversation that they would do to say any or whatever. But the real assessment here is, today's journal would be, what did we learn today? Did you learn anything today? What did you learn? Levels. To squeeze, and there you go. Siempre criticamos a eso. That mangoes are from India, okay? And pineapples. Now, one thing that I forgot to tell you regarding, what was it? There's another fruit. It was pineapples, mangoes. Oh, oranges. Did you notice where oranges are from? They're from China. The first time I went to Puerto Rico, I was at the hotel, and they told me, ¿Usted quiere un jugo de China? Y yo, ¿qué? Aquí las muelen. Aquí. And in the Caribbean, in the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, Puerto Rico, República Dominicana, a la naranja le dicen China. no dicen naranja, dicen China. Me da un jugo de China, por favor. Yeah? And the point is because the first ones came from China. So they're from China. So my friends, we did a lot of learning, I hope. And all I can say next is thank you. Thank you very much for doing that. Oh, you're too kind. Now, if you want the PDFs, send me an email at mario.herrera@pearson.com. Just you have to say, Mario, mándame el rollo de Durango because I have a different rollo every day. Okay? And if you have Twitter, si les gusta el chisme, y yo sé que sí, ¿por qué se divorciaron reading y writing? ¿Con quién anda saliendo listening? Okay. Join me at Mario ELT. Okay. So thank you so much, and I hope I see you again some other time. Thank you very much. You've been very nice. Thank you.
Big round of applause for Mario Herrera.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
On behalf of Escuela de Lenguas, we would like to thank you by sharing your knowledge with all of us, and I know that it will be helpful for our future as teachers. Thank you. These small presents for you. A big round of applause, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we hope
enjoy the rest of your convention.